Hello and good morning, children. Today we shall start from where we left in the last session. We were talking about this poem, The Laburnum Top, by this American poet Ted Hughes. We had completed the very first 3 lines of this poem. The second poem starts, or the second stanza of the poem begins thus. Till the goldfinch comes with a twitching chirrup, a suddenness, a startlement at a branch end. Then sleek as a lizard and alert and abrupt, she enters the thickness and a machine starts up. Of chitterings and a tremor of wings and trillings, the whole tree trembles and fails. It is the engine of her family. She stokes it full, then flirts out to a branch end, showing her barred face, identity mask. Then, with eerie, delicate whistle chirrup whisperings, she launches away towards the infinite, and the laburnum subsides to empty. Bache, when we read through this small poem, there are a few things which we come to notice right at the outset. For example, there are many words which describe various kinds of sounds, noises, and probably it also gives us the introduction to a little bit of music or euphony, which is associated with birds, trees, and at the same time also the nature as a whole. Words like chirrupings, twitching, chirrup, chitterings, tremor of wings, trillings, all these words, they give us an introduction and an insight into the various kinds of noises and sounds that generally small animals like birds, sparrows, so on and so forth, they make or they produce, probably to emote what they are feeling, probably to express and exhibit their sentiments and emotions. We as human beings, we generally think and assume that it is only us who bear this ability to express our emotions and sentiments. But factually, it is just the converse. Animals, irrespective of their species, have different ways of communications. Alright? And because of that, when we are talking about nature and when we are looking at nature through this beautiful eyes of a poet or a poetess, we come to see and we come to notice the various emotions, the various feelings that are generally exhibited and expressed by animals. Now, let us try to find out the meanings from the meaning stanzas. Till the goldfinch comes with a twitching chirrup. Now, I told you in the first class that this poem is precisely about a tree, a flowering tree called as the laburnum tree. And at the same time, it also talks about a bird, a small bird called as goldfinch. Now the goldfinch gets its name from its golden color. Alright? It's a small bird, maybe of the size of a tad bit bigger than a sparrow. But at the same time, it has got a very beautiful visage or a beautiful face with this beautiful yellow color. Alright? And what does the laburnum tree tell us? Or what does the poet tell us actually? That this bird, goldfinch, comes and makes its nest or prepares its nest on the top of this laburnum tree. And it almost goes as such that this is actually an autobiography of this tree called as the laburnum tree. The poet tries to tell us that this laburnum tree or the top of this laburnum tree is silent because it is autumn. Its leaves and seeds have fallen off and it is absolutely quiet till such time as this bird, goldfinch, arrives to feed its little ones. Okay? And that is why he says, till the goldfinch, a few leaves yellowing, all its seeds fallen, till the goldfinch comes with a twitching chirrup. Twitching, There is this word in English called as twitch. What does it mean? Twitch. It means a sudden movement generally associated to muscles. Okay, muscles. Now, what do you mean by twitch? हम लोग कभी कभार हिंदी में कहते हैं ना कि मेरी दाईं आंख या मेरी बाईं आंख या दाईं आंख फड़क रही है ना, ये जो फड़कना कहते हैं उसको हम लोग अंग्रेजी में ट्विच कहते हैं. ठीक. Now, a twitching chirrup, that necessarily means that this goldfinch has come and settled or alighted on one of the branches or twigs of this laburnum tree, and there is an involuntary or spontaneous chirrup. What is chirrup? It is the noise made by a small bird, right? An involuntary chirrup comes out of its mouth. Okay? And then what happens? A suddenness, a startlement at a branch end. Look at the words used by the poet here. A suddenness, a startlement. Now, what do these words define or try to tell us? When you are talking about words like suddenness, okay, now here look at this, sudden plus ness, correct? Here this word, I am trying to give you an understanding or an insight as to what the poet is trying to tell us by trying to describe the part of speech of this word. Could you guess what is the part of speech of this word? Suddenness. It necessarily talks about a state, right? It talks about a state. And we all know that a state can both be a noun and a verb. Correct? Now when you say, I am thirsty, the word am is the verb here, although it describes a state. Correct? The same way, suddenness here is a state. Suddenness here is a state, but it does not describe a verb necessarily, it describes an abstract noun. The state of being sudden, correct? It describes an abstract noun. And the same way, startlement. What do you mean by this word startle? S-T-A-R-T-L-E-M-E-N-T. Now, this is the word startle plus ment. Okay? The same way, sudden plus ness. Startle plus ment. Startle means to surprise or to, get a start. Okay? The same way, again it describes about a state, but then the state of being startled, so it's an abstract noun. Okay? You can look at it any which way, from the point of view of a verb and from the point of view from an abstract noun, correct? Having said so, a suddenness, a startlement at a branch end. That means the poet is trying to describe the position of the bird when it alights on the tree. That means, like I told you, that probably the bird has completed its sortie or has completed its flight and come down and alighted or sat or rested or landed on a particular twig or a small branch of the laburnum tree. And hence, the poet is trying to tell us, the poet is trying to depict that this goldfinch, this beautiful goldfinch bird, has suddenly come out of nowhere, out of the blue, and has landed on one particular branch or a twig, okay? And because of this motion of the goldfinch bird coming down, okay, alighting from its flight, and this involuntary chirrup that has come out of her mouth, there is a sudden liveliness, there is a suddenness and startlement owing to her movements or actions. Then sleek as a lizard and alert and abrupt, she enters the thickness. Then sleek as a lizard. There is this beautiful small word, sleek. Okay? Now there are various connotations to this word. Sleek, it means shiny, it means smooth, it means glabrous. Okay? Glabrous. It also means that somebody or someone who is very suave, okay, who is very stylish, and at the same time who has this uncanny way of moving around places and moving around people and objects, almost in an unassuming way, in an unnoticeable way, or in a very inconspicuous way. Okay? Now the same way here, what does the poet compare this little bird goldfinch to? He compares the goldfinch to a lizard. And why? Because we all know that lizards, they are very, very adept and expert at movements. They slip across, they slither across the walls and floors of our houses, residence, okay, without people noticing them. Sometimes we do. Even then, they have this ability to whisk away, to run away. And hence, it uses a comparison by using this particular figure of speech called as simile. Here is a simile, okay? Sleek as a lizard. Like I told you that there are various figures of speech, generally poets and poetesses, they use to describe various kinds of things, and comparisons. What is a simile? A simile is a comparison between two different objects or two different people, two different things actually in general, okay, with the use of words like, as, so on and so forth, right? So here, the goldfinch or the movement of the goldfinch, not necessarily the goldfinch, the movement of the goldfinch is compared to the sleek movements of a lizard by the poet. What does he say? Then sleek as a lizard and alert and abrupt, she enters the thickness. Alright? We can actually visualize various pictures, various scenarios when we are actually reading such a poem. Alright? Just inadvertently, this comes to my mind right now, that probably, if you have watched movies of, war probably, you will see that people who are snipers, okay, they are very sleek. They move around in a way wherein they are invisible to the naked eye, okay. They are so well covered, they are so well gabardined, in their ghillie suits and so on and so forth. There is something called as a ghillie suit, okay, that snipers wear, so that it's a tremendous camouflage that they put on. It's called as a ghillie suit, okay. So when they put on this ghillie suit and they move to find a vantage point probably, or a particular perch from where they can actually observe and locate their enemy and so on and so forth, correct? The same way here, the poet is trying to describe the movement of this beautiful goldfinch bird and how she alights from a flight on the laburnum top on a particular branch or a twig, and then because of her movements, this suddenness, this startlement, this abruptness has come to be experienced, right? She enters the thickness and a machine starts up. A machine starts up. And what is this machine? We'll come to see. Of chitterings, a machine starts up, of chitterings and a tremor of wings and trillings. Here, when the poet is trying to tell us, see बच्चे, हम लोग अभी ये जो contextual meaning है, literal meaning है, उसको समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. जब हम लोग इसके क्रिटिकल मीनिंग में जाएंगे तब और अलग अलग भावनाएं और अलग अलग दृश्य हम लोगों को नजर आएंगे. And I leave it to you, critical appreciation of a poem should actually always be left to the audience or the reader. Okay? मैं अपना critical appreciation आप लोगों को अगले क्लास में, अगले लेक्चर में बताऊंगा. फिर आप लोग अपना critical appreciation मुझे बताइएगा. There is no such thing as right or wrong, but then we try to describe what probably the poet had in mind or in heart when he or she wrote this poem. ठीक है? तो यहाँ पर क्या है? She enters the thickness and a machine starts up, of chitterings and a tremor of wings and trillings. The same way, the movements are described, the noises, the sounds are described by the poet. Okay? When this goldfinch bird comes and alights from its flight on the laburnum top, आगे क्या बोल रहे हैं? The whole tree trembles and thrills. It is the engine of a family. She strokes it full, then flirts out to a branch end. बच्चे जरा सा नोटिस कीजिएगा, repetition हुआ है यहाँ पर. Engine 2 बार इस्तेमाल हुई है. The word engine has been used twice. Okay, like I told you right at the outset of this video lecture, that there are words which have been repeated. There are words which have been repeated in order to make double emphasis. Okay, in order to re-emphasize something that the poet is trying to tell us. That means the poet is trying to tell us that this tree was absolutely alone, solitary, it had no movement, probably because of this season, the autumn season, okay, it has shed all its seeds and fruits and leaves, okay, and it was almost like lifeless, listless. But then suddenly, abruptly, when this goldfinch has arrived, its movements, its flutterings and twitching and so on and so forth, this tree and the family of this goldfinch that is nesting on the tree, the laburnum tree, it has come to life. Okay, and then what does the poet say? She stokes it full. Stokes, बच्चे स्टोक बोल के एक वर्ड है अंग्रेजी में जिसके अलग अलग मतलब हैं. यहाँ पर एक मतलब के बारे में बताया गया है. जरा बता सकते हैं आप लोग कि स्टोक क्या है? ओके, द वर्ड स्टोक, okay, and there is another word, stokes. Now here we can assume that this word, precisely it is a verb, okay, and obviously when we use s or es along with the verb, we are talking about a particular tense or the usage of a particular tense. But then when you are talking about stoke, the first meaning, okay, of this word stoke is to how do I tell you, to elicit, okay, or to urge, okay, or in a way you can also say what is the word, to entice, all right, also to, जैसे हम लोग हिंदी में कहते हैं ना कि आग में घी डालना, है ना, so you are trying to provoke or evoke a particular kind of an emotion or a sentiment. Generally it is used negatively, okay. Now when we say stoke their fire of indignation, now let us say when you say the stoke their fire of indignation, you are actually trying to tell that in an opposite way, that their fire of indignation has come up, but then you are trying to abruptly push it down, all right. So उसी तरह यहाँ पर ये stokes का मतलब क्या है? आप लोगों ने physics में in physics I do not know whether you have already been taught this. There is something called the Napier-Stokes equation, है ना, which talks about the viscosity of a fluid, है ना, the kinematic viscosity of a fluid. Now when you come to read, or when you have this understanding, the conceptual understanding of the Napier-Stokes equation, you will see that it talks about viscosity. Viscosity माने the thickness. Generally अगर बोला जाए, the thickness of a fluid is called as its viscosity. Okay, it's generally not related to a solid. Maybe in higher physics, I do not know, but it's generally related to fluids. ठीक है? So उसी तरह here Stokes माने क्या है? To fill up, to fill up. Okay, जरा सा relate कीजिए. Fill up करोगे तभी तो viscosity बढ़ेगा, है ना. किसी चीज में भी, किसी सोल्यूशन में आप जितना ज्यादा सल्यूट डालो वो उतना ज्यादा थिक होता जाएगा, उतना ज्यादा सैचुरेटेड होता जाएगा, है ना. एंड इन अ वे वी कैन ऑल्सो यूज दिस वर्ड कॉल्ड उतना ज्यादा विस्कस होता चला जाएगा. उसी तरह यहाँ पर क्या बोल रहे हैं? शी स्ट्रोक्स इट फुल देन फ्लर्ट्स आउट टू अ ब्रांच एंड. फ्लर्ट, F-L-I-R-T, flirt. I don't think I need to explain the meaning of this word flirt here, but then it has not been used in the sense this word flirt is generally used, है ना. And we actually use it in very different colloquial and ornamental and decorative ways when we use English in communication. We say that, see, there is a fine line between discipline and madness, and you are flirting with it. So when you say that you are flirting with it, that means you are actually messing with it. You are trying to disturb it. Okay? यहाँ पर क्या बोला जा रहा है? She strokes it full, then flirts out to a branch end. When you say she flirts out to a branch end, that means the poet is describing the movement of the goldfinch from one particular branch end to another particular branch end. But why does he use the word flirt? He could have well gone ahead and used the word flown or flies or moves, something like that. He is trying to say that probably the goldfinch is moving around here and there without any purposelessly, and hence flirts around. ठीक? आगे क्या है? Showing her barred face identity mask. Barred face. B-A-R-R-E-D. बार माने क्या है? दो चीजें हो सकती हैं. एक, मना करना किसी चीज को, यू आर बार्ड फ्रॉम एंटरिंग दिस प्रीमाइसेस, दैट मीन्स आपको अलाउड नहीं है यहाँ आना। और दूसरा चीज क्या हो सकता है, खुला, ओपन, ओपन, राइट, एब्सोल्युटली क्लियर। सो बार्ड फेस आइडेंटिटी मास्क। अच्छा, ये बार्ड फेस आइडेंटिटी मास्क एक और तरीके से हम देख सकते हैं। Probably the poet is trying to give us this physical description of the face of a goldfinch. Okay, I have not seen a goldfinch myself, but then I've seen the pictures of goldfinch. All right, you can Google it up. Now, when you look at this bird, goldfinch, you will see that there is a particular marking on its face. It's got a very small head, okay, tiny head because it's a tiny bird. So it has got a few markings on its face, okay, like speckles, like spots, or even a bit of a line. Now probably the poet is trying to tell us that those markings on her face identity mask. Why use the word mask? मास्क पहनी है क्या गोल्डफिंच, पहन कर क्या जोकर थोड़ी है, ऐसा तो नहीं है। लेकिन फिर मास्क का यूज या मास्क का इस्तेमाल हुआ क्यों है? Probably the poet is trying to depict that when it comes down to this laburnum top, it has a different emotion, it has a different behavior, and when it meets its children, its babies, its little ones, it has got different emotions. And when it is alone, flying out probably in this wide open expanse of sky, then it is something else, or it is someone else. ठीक है, आगे। Then with eerie, delicate whistle, chirrup whisperings, she launches away towards the infinite, and the laburnum subsides to empty. But look at the words used by the poet here. Then with eerie के साथ यूज किया गया है delicate. ये थोड़ा सा अजीब लगता है, लेकिन poets and poetesses, they are crazy people, okay? In a way, they are eccentric people. They use these words, okay? Very contrasting words together. Eerie माने क्या है? Strange, weird, spooky, creepy. All such words are synonyms to eerie, है ना? Strange आप बोल सकते हैं. Eerie, delicate. Now, how can something which is eerie be delicate? And how can something which is delicate be eerie at the same time? ठीक, ये इसलिए बोला जाता है, ये जो ये पैराडॉक्सिकल कंपैरिजन है, ये इसलिए, या फिर अपोजिंग कंपैरिजन्स हैं, ये इसीलिए इस्तेमाल किया जाता है ताकि वो जो फीलिंग है प्रॉबेबली जिसके बारे में बात की जा रही है उसकी या उनकी, है ना, वो हम डिस्क्राइब कर पाएं। एट टाइम्स वी गॉट मिक्स्ड फीलिंग्स, राइट, यू एंड आई बोथ नो वी गॉट मिक्स्ड फीलिंग्स। खुशी भी होती है, गम भी होता है ना, एक्साइटमेंट भी होती है और एंग्जाइटी भी होती है, दोनों एक साथ होते हैं, है ना। उसी तरह अभी जैसे आप लोगों के एग्जाम्स के रिजल्ट निकले तो एक्साइटमेंट भी थी, एंग्जाइटी भी था, दोनों, है ना। एक्साइटमेंट किस लिए, मैंने अच्छा मेहनत किया है, मेरे रिजल्ट्स अच्छे आएंगे, है ना, इम्तहान अच्छे निकले थे मेरे। और एंग्जाइटी किस लिए, भाई कहीं कुछ गलती तो नहीं हो गई, कुछ गड़बड़ तो नहीं हो जाएगा। सो मिक्स्ड फीलिंग्स। उसी तरह the poet is trying to tell us, then with eerie, delicate whistle, chirrup whisperings. Whistle, chirrup whisperings. माने the poet is trying to give us, you know, an exact description of what is the kind of noise that this beautiful bird goldfinch makes. ना, whistle, chirrup, whisperings. Whistle, chirrup, whisperings. तो उसका जो चिरप निकल रहा है, जो आवाज निकल रही है उसके मुंह से, it's like a whistle, okay? और whisperings क्यों? फुसफुसाना, कानाफूसी करना, बात करना. So probably it is not that clear, but at the same time the tree is able to notice that it is a whistle kind of a chirrup. Then she launches away towards the infinite. Launches माने takes off, okay, from the tree. Towards the infinite माने towards the sky. Infinite है ना, the ever expanding expanse called as sky or space, whatever. लास्ट में क्या बोला जाता है, एंड द laburnum subsides to empty, माने और फिर एक बार ये laburnum ट्री जो है वो अकेला पड़ गया. फिर एक बार ये laburnum ट्री जो है उसके जो साथी या फिर जो गोल्डफिंच को जो उसने अपना दोस्त मान रखा है वो दोस्त भी वहां से चला गया. दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द कंटेक्चुअल मीनिंग और द लिटरल मीनिंग ऑफ दिस पोएम laburnum top. आपको अगर कोई भी डाउट हो आप व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में पूछ सकते हैं. इसके बाद, इस लेसन के बाद जो लेसन हम करेंगे, वी विल टॉक अबाउट the critical appreciation of this poem. I'll try to give you the critical appreciation from my side. उसके बाद you will give me back your appreciation, okay? और critical I don't know compose जो भी आप करोगे वो आप मुझे शेयर करेंगे, ठीक है? Hope all of you are doing well. See you in the next class. God bless you. Thank you.